Excellent. Welcome, everybody. Woo! Thank you. An awesome way to kick off today's sustainability lunch series. I know that all of you are in the room right now because you all want a job in climate or sustainability. Am I right? Awesome. Then you're in the right spot. And please make sure that this is not your only interaction with both myself, the Sustainability Initiative, and the CDO, because this will just be our first touch point for ever-long engagement during your 1 to 2 years here at MIT Sloan. My name is Jen Graham. I'm the Senior Associate Director within the MIT Sloan Sustainability Initiative. I've been with the initiative for 3 years now. I oversee all of the operations for our team as well as student and alumni engagement. So if you have a question about certificate, courses, career thoughts, come talk to me, become familiar with our team. My background is in career development. So I actually started my career here at MIT Sloan in the CDO. So I'm a CDO alum, very aware of that amazing team. I worked in recruiting when I was here several years ago. So I worked with employers to come to campus and recruit students. So I left, did career advising at another university, got my MBA, and as I was graduating, there was an opportunity to really focus on sustainability. So this is really my sweet spot, career advising for climate and sustainability business roles. So again, don't be a stranger. We're going to share a lot of information with you today. I will be sure to share the slides with you afterwards, and I'm going to share a few resources so that you can stay connected to us. And I'm going to let Julie introduce herself. Julie?
Oh, great. Okay, you all hear me? Yeah, okay. I'm Julie Kaneb, and I work in the Career Development Office here. I'm an associate director, and I advise MBA students across a couple different industries. My background, it's interesting to hear again from Jen. I was like, oh, we have so much overlap. I started my business career on the finance side. I was a financial analyst. And then in the middle of my career, I did a bunch of kind of social impact work, actually with Andrew Walk here at the Root Cause and Social Innovation Forum. And then over the past decade or so, I went into recruiting and mainly worked with small startup companies in the Boston area, some on the West Coast. And then I jumped to the other side and have been advising MBA students more recently. So love the work I do and have some expertise in social impact, but also in healthcare and other fields as well. So looking forward to our session today.
Awesome. Thank you, Julie. And just to get a pulse of who's in the room, how many of you are first-year MBAs? So on the path for summer internship. Great. Any second-year MBAs? Great. Anybody Sloan Fellows? Phenomenal. Any EMBAs? Or any other programs that I didn't mention already? Yes. Who do we have? TPP. Amazing. And you?
Finance.
Amazing. Anybody else? MSMS. Phenomenal. Welcome. Supply chain management. Excellent. I just wanted to kind of gauge the room in terms of summer internship resources versus full-time versus earlier in your career and mid-career. All of which are going to be relevant to your job search strategy. But before we get into our agenda today, some of you weren't in the room last week at our kickoff. So I'm highlighting 2 QR codes up on the screen. This is how you're going to stay connected to the Sustainability Initiative. We have a student-led, Sustainability Initiative-led student WhatsApp community. This is an amazing resource for you all. I post jobs, events, resources, you name it on here, and it is very active. So it would be very wise to join this community and stay in touch with this group moving forward. The other QR code is to sign up for our weekly newsletter. This is also where we highlight events, research projects, jobs, student impact stories. So again, would be very wise to sign up for that newsletter if you haven't already. So why don't I leave this up on the screen just for one more moment so that folks can scan and awesome. Yes.
What's the aggregate confusion project?
Did it bring you to the aggregate confusion project page?
Yeah.
That is one of our research projects. If you click around, you can find our communications page. All right. The other thing I'm just going to highlight before we get into the agenda is our next sustainability lunch series. So we hold events like this almost on a weekly basis. Next week is the exception because a lot of us will be at New York Climate Week. But the week following, Thursday, October 3rd, we're partnering with the Water, Food, and Ag Prize and the Food and Ag Club to bring you a session all about data-driven solutions for a sustainable food systems. So it'll be a really great conversation. If you're interested in food, ag, tech at all, this would be a really great program to join. And I'm actually going to highlight another event that we're holding with the guest speaker later that afternoon, later in the presentation. Okay, so what are we going to talk about in today's session? So first, we're going to highlight just some general trends in the sustainability career landscape. A lot of this information you will already know, but it will be applicable as you're starting to think about your job search strategy. We're going to share some data points on where other Sloan students in sustainability have landed. So exploring your options and identifying some career paths that you might want to follow based on data from previous classes. Next, we'll get into some search strategies. We'll hear from the CDO to think about a cohort versus network-based job search. And then I'll talk more specifically about resources available to you as a student. So this will cover student engagement as well as applied expertise and experiential learning. And then lastly, we're going to hear directly from some students and one alum as they share their experience in their summer internship search last year or their full-time search recently. So let's talk about the career landscape. Now, it should not be a surprise to anyone in this room that the sustainability career landscape is still booming. IRA, which was passed just a couple of years ago, put over $370 billion into power buildings, transportation, infrastructure. So we're seeing huge investments in this space. We're seeing huge growth trajectory in the renewable energy space. VCs are still putting in a ton of money into climate tech companies. As you might have seen, recent legislation in California and the EU are now requiring companies to disclose their climate emissions. So this will impact their recruitment strategy as they are now required to report on that. Consumer goods and apparel are investing in circular economy. And then the need for climate adaptation is becoming ever more urgent. So there's a lot that climate change is affecting when it comes to business and supply chain. We've all seen the physical direct risk here. So we've seen warehouses shut down because of flooding or wildfires. Supply chains have been disrupted, which has cost a lot of money to repair. We've seen companies' reputations tank as some companies like Microsoft and Google are reporting that they aren't going to meet their net zero targets in time, which affects business, right? And then ultimately, this will impact access to capital. So things that you really need to be mindful of as you're thinking about a career in business. Now, with all of this doom and gloom, we also communicate that there are opportunities for business, right? So there are opportunities to invest in human capital. So organizations are having employees upskill in areas of sustainability. There's opportunity for innovation. There's opportunity to get engaged politically in the corporate social and responsibility area. And then, of course, there's a whole new market of climate tech that we can also explore. At this point, the message that I want to hone in is that I think it would be naive to think that most traditional businesses won't be impacted by climate change. So it should be on everybody's radar moving forward as you're thinking about a career in this space. Now, this message, I'm just going to put a kind of pin in this message. This was my message to students last year. Every job needs to be a sustainability job, right? For all the reasons that I just mentioned. You all know this. I think this message is evolving, and I also want to recognize that this job market in its current state is really tough, right? There's a lot of competition. I've seen trends in energy and climate specifically. These industries, I think, are in good shape, but because we've seen competition or other industries be impacted by the economy, a lot more of those students are applying to these energy and climate-focused roles, which creates more competition for you all. So what's my new message for this year? Simply having foundational climate knowledge is not enough. I think it's imperative to have these foundational skills as you're going into this job search, but you need to also focus in on industry expertise. So moving from a broad awareness of sustainability, which was the case for my message and to students about a career strategy, to more of a deep specialized skill focused job search. So you need to have both areas of expertise as you're heading into your internship or full-time job search. Make sense? Yeah. So at this point in the stage, I like to describe to students how we think about a role in sustainability. And I often tell students the story of engaging with two incoming students. One wants to pursue a job in finance, one wants to pursue a job in sustainability. Okay, you talk to student A who wants to go into finance. You have a clue as to what that means, right? They want to work for a financial institution. They want to do finance within a traditional business or organization. You already know what those roles look like, right? You talk to incoming student B, I want a job in sustainability. Oftentimes the next question that you get is, well, what does that mean? What's a job in sustainability mean? Right? So before we talk about strategy and what career paths you should be considering, we like to share this 2x2 matrix with students to think about which areas and which companies and which roles you should be targeting. Now, this matrix we took from our colleague, Katie Cross. Katie Cross is the executive director of the Sustainability Center at Duke, very close counterpart. We have close collaboration with a lot of our peer schools. She wrote a book several years ago all about the career-driven MBA job search. And the question that she asked is, do you want to make a green company big or a big company green? And so she created this matrix and divided up a career search strategy into these 4 quadrants. So obviously in the top left, you can see a traditional role. Well, at the top, it should be traditional roles versus sustainability-oriented roles, sustainability-oriented organizations versus sustainability-oriented roles. So top left quadrant, you'll see more of a traditional role within a traditional organization. So we have a lot of students who might go into finance or consulting. We would categorize this in that first quadrant. To the right of that, a traditional role in a sustainability or mission-driven organization. So a Patagonia, we would put in this category, but you're in a traditional role. So you are in a financial officer role at Patagonia. That would fit into that bucket. The third bucket on the bottom left, sustainability-oriented role in a traditional organization. This is where we've seen a lot of students want to go into this category. So a chief sustainability officer for Coca-Cola, right? And then the bottom right, you're going all in sustainability-oriented role at an organization. You're going into a mission-driven nonprofit, and you're looking to be a sustainability officer within this mission-driven organization. Now, as we're exploring our options, where have MIT students gone? So this gives you an even better visual of past students and where they've landed and what types of roles fit into each category. So as you can see, traditional versus sustainability oriented, those titles make it a little easier to differentiate. The students highlighted on here are all graduates of the sustainability certificate from the past 3 years. And some of you are already doing it. I would suggest taking a picture of this slide and reaching out to any of these individuals if their career path looks appealing. They're all very well connected to the initiative, and I'm sure would be more than willing to connect. So as you can see, traditional versus traditional. As I mentioned before, we still have a lot of students that go the consulting path, which is totally fine. I think there's a lot of opportunity for impact in these fields. In the sustainability-oriented organization, within a traditional organization, you can see, so sorry, I have it backwards. In a sustainability oriented organization in a more traditional role, you can see some examples of that. So all of these organizations are mission driven or lead in sustainability. But the role that the student has taken is more of a quote unquote traditional career path. Same on the bottom left, you can see folks who have a sustainability role in these more traditional organizations. And then the bottom right, again, the students who went all in are doing sustainability roles in their day-to-day, but also working for a mission-driven company. Now, where, in terms of a breakdown, how many students go into each quadrant? So the data that I'm displaying here is from placement data that we give to sustainability certificate graduates. So this is not the entire MBA class. This is not the entire Sloan Fellow class. The certificate graduates cover a whole variety of different graduate programs. So it includes all of the programs that we mentioned that are in the room today. So I also want to point out that this data is just from the past 3 years of graduates. So you can see that, again, the vast majority of our students go into these more traditional career paths. I want to point out that because we engage with a lot of EMBAs and Sloan Fellows, there are a lot of students who come here and then return to their sponsored company, which I think skews this data. But I also want to highlight in both the blue and the yellow areas in particular, we've seen a huge growth in these two areas just over the past year. So when I presented this last year, that gray section of traditional was upwards of 70%. So just in the past year alone, we've seen a lot more students head into these more sustainability roles or mission-driven organizations, which is really exciting. I think that one reason why this might be happening is a lot of students interested in climate tech. So might be going into these very exciting startups, which we very much saw with last year's graduating class. But I think this is really insightful data to have just to know where have other students gone that were in your shoes just a year or two ago. And so I just want to point out that the sustainability career path is blurry. I hope that was driven home just a few slides ago. And this is what makes your career search strategy even more important. So as you're thinking about what industry you want to target, what types of roles you want to target, those jobs might not even have sustainability in the title or job description. So we're here to act as resources as you start to navigate the job market and think about which roles that you want to target. So with this, let me share one more slide of data before I hand it over to the CDO. Again, this is the same placement data that I shared with you from the past 3 years graduating class. But on the right, you'll see a breakdown of the industries that our students have gone into. The top 9 industries, the first one being other, which I realize is not very helpful, but can showcase the wide variety of different industries that our students go into. Energy, tech, finance, and consulting are the other top. On the left, you'll see source. So this will add up to 99%. There's 1% that started their own venture. As I mentioned before, 32% returning to a sponsored company. So these are EMBAs and Sloan Fellows in particular. 17% found their job through an MIT affiliation. So this could be a faculty member, a referral through the CDO, on-campus recruitment, 27% through a summer internship. This is very significant. Over a fourth of our graduating class found their full-time role through a summer internship. So if you're a first-year MBA in the room, it would be very wise to think about a sustainability internship, especially if you're making a pivot. And then lastly, 23% for job posting or personal networking. And I highlight this because we've seen through these 4 different sources that are mentioned, students find their roles in a whole different variety of ways. So you should take advantage of everything that MIT has to offer to you, every resource that I'll share with you that's more externally driven, and just know that, again, you have 2 whole departments within Sloan to help you on this journey. So with that, let me hand it over to Julie to talk about different pathways.
So that was great. And I loved getting that updated information. Even that last grid there's a significant change. I think last year maybe consulting was in that top left, and now you've got other, which is like real estate and all kinds of other stuff.
Yep.
So just points to the fact that you really need to kind of stay up to date with current market trends and also that point about getting a lot of good expertise. So just to start providing a framework for what your search is going to look like in the sustainability arena, I want to give this framing, which is very typical for students coming out of any master's degree program. You're going to be looking at either a cohort hiring system or a network job search. And cohort hiring generally applies to a couple key industries like consulting and the finance industry, where everything happens really early on and it's a very long timeline. They have to anticipate their employment needs 12 months out. So that is in fact the case, like I said, in certain industries, but generally speaking, sustainability roles are going to be found through a network job search. And as you can guess from the title of that, that involves a lot of networking. And that's typical for MBA students in general. I know you all like to network and make connections. Network job searches really don't have a predictable recruiting timeline. Generally speaking, you're going to want to use your fall to be doing research and to be building those network connections. In the spring, you'll see that the timing of hiring can vary, but typically it occurs really close to your start date, so in later spring. But the activity that you'll be doing in the spring is much more targeted than what you'll be doing in the fall. In the fall, you'll be exploring and you'll be working on refining your messaging and getting those critical skills that you're going to need. The good news is there are an abundance of green opportunities, but underneath that sustainability umbrella, there is just so much. From, like we've talked about, consulting to renewable energy and clean tech. There are green banks, impact investing. So what does that mean for you in the way you're structuring your search? It really puts a lot of pressure on your strategy and getting that clarity, that fit and feasibility. So that 2x2 framework is so helpful to understand what the options are and what path you might take. And it doesn't mean you might be only in one of those quadrants, but it's great to kind of frame your thoughts about where you want to go using that 2x2 framework. Once you're kind of thinking about that, you're going to start networking to get information. You're going to want to refine your targets. In this process in the fall, this exploration, you're going to learn what key skills you need, but you're also going to understand what opportunities are available. You might be interested in something and that's, maybe part of the market that's really not expanding right now. So you'll need to think of another option. I was really pleased to hear yesterday about the rate drop because that's going to help investment, which will really help drive what some of that IRA was intended, all that infrastructure development. And then again, you have to have the key skills and experience needed for the roles that you're targeting. If you don't have them, that's okay. You're in an educational program. You can get them. You can get them through these certificate programs and the classes you're taking, but you kind of need to know, what do I need? And your informational conversations are going to help you understand that. I also linked here in these skills lists that you may be familiar with, especially you first years who just did your resumes. These are skills lists by industry and function. So you can get a really quick snapshot of like, what are the most important skills in, I don't know, tech product marketing or something. That's not really a sustainability role, but we have them for every industry and for every function. So you can kind of start understanding, do I have what I need? If I really have a significant deficit, is it realistic for me to think that I can do that or not? So I'm going to talk about a lot of the resources here to do that exploration and research that you need. But I just want to kind of hit home how important these informational conversations are. Again, to find out what opportunities exist ahead of time before they might be posted, you'll learn about a company that's going to be driving a whole new initiative so that you'll be ready and looking for that opportunity. To understand more about the roles and responsibilities, as Jennifer mentioned, a lot of titles, companies and titles say nothing about sustainability. How do you know, is this an opportunity for me or not? These conversations are where you're going to find out that information. And then I highly encourage you to use these opportunities, especially in the fall, to figure out from the people you're speaking with, would they consider you a strong candidate at this company for this role? That's really important. And I suggest, as I'll get into in a little bit of detail, that you start your informational conversations with career peers here at MIT and with recent alumni, because these are really warm, friendly contacts where you're going to show up for that conversation, informed and intelligent, but it's a pretty low risk environment. And you can kind of put yourself out there, like, what do you think? Look at my resume. This is where I've been. Do you think they would really consider me for this senior level role in supply management? So I really want to make a plug for starting that process now. And I'm going to show you a bunch of great ways to find places to start that networking. So I'll walk you through all of these CDO resources so you have a good sense for what's there. I won't overwhelm you. You can just like take a little bit at a time, and there's a lot of drop-in hours so you can test out different resources. First of all, the advising team. The link there that you'll find on the website has back the bios of everybody. So you'll know, oh, this person works in energy. I really want to talk to them. Or they're in the healthcare space and I really want to be in that supply chain environment. So check those backgrounds out and then schedule an appointment just to kind of get a sense, like, what key resources should I start with? What do you think about this strategy? Talking about your fit and feasibility and getting ready for that kind of market readiness, which you'll need in the spring. I really want to make a plug for the ER&R team because these are our direct contacts with employers. So Richard covers the energy industry, but as we've talked about, sustainability is everywhere. So all of these people should be on your radar. They're offering drop-in hours on Wednesdays. It's usually hosted by Mark, but sometimes it'll be one of the other account managers. This is a great opportunity to pop in, talk about what you're interested in, hear about what they see as the industry trends. I also encourage you, if you have some companies on your radar as you're doing research and you go into Career Central and you see, hey, it looks like there's no notes in on that company since 2022. Do we have a current contact, or what information do you have about that company? Don't shy away from asking about a company that you might not see, because they're really responsive to what you're looking for. The career interest survey that you did over the summer, they used a lot of that data to go out and do outreach if they didn't have a contact at a company. They're putting this, this is right on the website on your landing page, whatever class you're in. There's a link to this employer relations insights where they're putting current events that are coming up. This is, I think I clipped this from Richard's post, and they're talking about trend information. So definitely check that out. And I know to the point of a lot of you are from different programs. Everybody's going to have a little bit of a different landing page, perhaps, when they go, but you'll find a lot of these resources, they might just be organized in a different place. I think you all know about the Explore MBA Careers page. This is where all of the information is organized by industry. I've highlighted here the sustainability community. This is where you're going to find a lot of great resources. They have specific job boards that you're going to be looking at in climate tech. They have a list of upcoming events. They have current market trend information, like this slide deck will be there. But there are other industries covered as well. So you're going to want to look at this one. But if you're also, thinking about healthcare, go look at that page too. It has similar information about how did people find their internships? What was the timeline? There's bar graphs or when they found those opportunities and landed them. When it comes to Career Central, you'll be in there all the time if you haven't been already, because that's where job postings are. And that's where there's a list of upcoming company events. I just want to point out two things to be on the lookout for. The notes and contacts tabs on a company page has all of the recent contact that our account manager has had with that company. So I work really closely with Susan Todd, who covers West Coast Tech. And when she meets with NVIDIA about their recruiting process this fall, she puts the notes right in there. You can go there and see exactly what they told her on that day. And the contacts tab has all of our contacts at that company with their email addresses. So again, a great place to network when you feel comfortable. You've done some of those first stage ones with career peers and alumni, and you're ready to kind of reach out to some company contacts. This last point, which looks like a lot of mumbo jumbo, is about how to filter effectively using the advanced filter feature in Career Central. We had, our team had a meeting recently with these companies, and I went to look them up after the fact because we were talking about Brookfield and some of its green investing. And then I couldn't find them when I was looking in Career Central. I think I put it in impact investing and they didn't pop up. But I was looking at their website and I was like, I know these people are involved in some green activity. So be sure you like cross-reference. I think Brookfield's listed in renewable energy category and then maybe pure investing and not impact investing. So just like when you're out there browsing, especially this fall, when you're in exploration phase, keep it broad, check out all different kinds of companies, and then start narrowing as you advance your strategy. I wanted to show these 2 pages. The bottom is the Career Central landing page from a student's perspective. And again, might look different for people in different programs. And the top is the CDO landing page. These resources have redundancies that are really intentional. So if you're working in Career Central, you don't have to pop out to CDO to find like a directory. Here you'll see the red tile is contact and directories. And to the right of that is the student networking resume database. You're going to find the same thing if you click on contacts and directories on your CDO. But just to tell you what employment directories are, it's the last 4 or 5 years of information from our students, where they went, their title, the industry, their email address. They're there to be reached out to. They've opted into this database. It's full-time and internship. So if I were you, I would go right in there and type in like, what are my interests? It's totally searchable. Find people that are happy to have a conversation with you. And then work up to, again, Sloan industry advisors. All of their bios are listed. I think there's over 50 people. And the Alumni Advisor Hub, which is, again, a great resource, has really advanced filters. So you can get in there, and a lot of those people are willing to do mock interviews, in addition to just informational conversations. This is what it looks like when you click through on your CDO, and you'll get, there's the LinkedIn Alumni Network. The bottom is career peers. Again, all of their bios are there, so you can see who you might want to talk to that has an industry alignment with you. I think that covers that. This is just a snapshot of what it looks like. I didn't include the names and email addresses, but I just went into the 2025 internships, searched on energy and sustainability and grabbed a few things. If you're not sure, like what title roles will I be looking for, this is a great way to see a sample. I'm not sure if everybody here has used MBA Exchange. It's, again, linked directly on your CDO, has really great filters. And I used this. This is like tiny. Nobody can read this, but this is in the energy industry. They don't have a lot of industries. I can't remember the exact number, but they're big, typical, like manufacturing, energy. There's not like a sustainability category because that doesn't make sense anyway, but you'll get an idea of like, oh, here's companies that are hiring and what types of roles are they hiring for. And then I tried another search, was pull out of the industries, just go to their general search. I put in sustainability, United States, and it kicked out 2,036 job opportunities. Now, I could have filtered by Massachusetts and reduced that very quickly. And I could have put in other filters for like specific roles. But I point this out because it's filtering on the job description. An example of one of the jobs that was posted just this Wednesday was an Apple supply chain development manager. And sustainability was in the job description. It's not in the title. You wouldn't necessarily know it from the company. But if you go in there and you're sophisticated about your searches, you're going to get a lot of great information. It's all MBA level in MBA Exchange. That's why it's also kind of pre-filtered for you. It's not like looking on LinkedIn. So I recommend checking that out. Lastly, there are so many companies that do not have a formal internship process. So if you kind of have these networking conversations and you feel like you know the person well enough to say, I'll be looking for an internship next summer, that might scare away a smaller, medium-sized company. They'll just say, we don't really have interns. You know, I can't really help you. You should just be kind of using your EQ to be a good listener. And if you hear like they're doing a lot of exciting things, they might be understaffed, or like, we want to get to this, I haven't gotten to it yet. You can make a proposal for them to do a project over the summer and put together a brief pitch deck, which we're happy to help you work on. But I just encourage you to not rule out small and medium-sized companies. If you're doing searches and nothing's popping up that they have an internship, that's not surprising. That's just not, a lot of companies just don't have the bandwidth. So absolutely consider that when by the time you get to spring and you're thinking what your options are, that's absolutely an option. That's the end of my section for now. I can take questions later, but for now, let's hand it back to Jen.
Thank you. So now we're going to pivot and talk about specific resources that are available to you as an MIT student. So as I shared before, you will need to enhance your skills. You need to have not only the foundational knowledge about sustainability strategy, but you also need to have industry-specific expertise. How are you going to do that in the next few months? Well, you're going to take advantage of all of the experiential learning opportunities that MIT and MIT Sloan has to offer. I would say that this is one of the biggest ways that we differentiate between our peer schools is just the sheer number of experiential learning opportunities. So what does that look like? First, courses that you're enrolled in. So the sustainability certificate, I'm going to put a plug in for the certificate, but it's a really great way to cover all of the requirements as it relates to sustainability and strategy, while also taking those industry-specific electives that will meet the requirements for the certificate. If you're in the certificate, it also allows you to engage with the cohort. We're very intentional about this cohort model and allow for space so that students can network with one another, because that has been a really effective tool in your search strategy. Next, a sustainability-focused internship. As I mentioned to the first years, it would be very wise to really hone in on a sustainability internship search strategy if you're looking to make a pivot. Industry-specific sustainability projects. So I'll highlight a few action learning labs that are offered here at Sloan, but say you're enrolled in an action learning course or another course, and you have the option to source your own project. It would be really smart to think about a climate-focused or sustainability-focused project. You can connect with me and I can approve that project towards the requirements for the certificate. We do this all of the time, but something that you really should be thinking about, especially as you're thinking about what courses to take advantage of. Sustainability competitions and hackathons. I'm going to share with you just a couple that I know of, but this is something that I'm constantly putting on the WhatsApp channel. Case competitions, hackathons, pitch competitions. These are phenomenal ways to build your resume and really hone in on this industry expertise. Treks and study tours. I work with the MBA team to work with students to plan at least one MBA study tour every spring that's focused on climate and sustainability. And that's just one example. So if you're thinking about maybe organizing your own trek, maybe you want to go to the West Coast and focus on climate tech, highly encourage you to engage with this community and do so. On-campus leadership opportunities, I'll highlight just a few examples in a moment, and then cross-sector collaborations. So I often post opportunities from Harvard. As I mentioned before, we collaborate with all of our peer schools. Take advantage of those. A lot of our peer schools offer some amazing case competitions or conferences that I highly encourage Sloan students to take advantage of. So MIT resources. So I mentioned I was going to share some examples of different ways that you can enhance your industry-specific skills. Here are two case competitions that we have several students either enrolling or enrolled in. Both are focused on either impact investing, and then the Questrom School over at BU is hosting for the second year in a row a sustainability case competition. Action Learning Labs. These are just the three most popular that our sustainability certificate students enroll in. But again, if you're enrolled in another class and you have the opportunity to source your own project, I highly encourage you to look for one in the climate space. Consulting projects. Two of the clubs here at MIT actually host consulting projects that you can get involved in. MyTech, actually, I think their deadline for Launchpad, which is a 2-month-long consulting project in sustainability. I think the deadline was last night at midnight, but I know the student who's organizing it very well. So if there's interest, come flag me down. I will go talk to him and extend that deadline, okay? SEED, same thing. So if you're interested in international development, they host consulting projects every semester. Student-led conferences. So these are just 4 that happen at MIT or MIT Sloan. The Sustainability Summit is one that we're very close to. We're an advisor to. And I've seen so many success stories of students getting involved in the leadership team, being part of the sponsorship team, making relationships with companies, and then landing a job at the end of the conference, either full-time or summer internship. So if you're interested in any of these different areas, it would be very smart to get involved as a student on the conference planning team. Let's talk about some other MIT resources that are not so focused on industry expertise. I'm putting a plug for all the student clubs. They are all doing programming that's focused on career search strategy this fall. So if you're thinking about making a pivot into any of these areas, take advantage of those clubs. 3 career fairs that are happening in the next few months. One is actually happening tomorrow. So the main campus career center, the CAPD, is hosting their fall career fair tomorrow. So if you don't have any information on that, make sure you head over to their website to explore more. We're also partnering with Harvard for a career expo in climate. So that's happening on Friday, November 1st. So be on the watch for more information on how to register for that. And then MyTech, for the second year in a row, they're going to host a spring career fair next semester. And then, as the CDO pointed out, there's a whole bunch of resources available to you within their website. So take full advantage of it. This is a whole directory of alumni who are in this space waiting for students to engage with them. And I'm just going to put a plug for one more event that we're doing. So I mentioned earlier in the presentation that we have a guest speaker coming on October 3rd, Dr. Emily Cordero. So she's the technical director of sustainability at Food Chain ID. So they do food verification and certification processes, but she has a background in soil science, in regenerative agriculture, in ag tech, in startups. And she has specifically said to us, I want to talk to students and talk to them about a career search. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up office hours or coffee chats for you all. We're in the process of creating those signups, but if you're on the WhatsApp channel, that is where we're going to distribute that information. So if you're thinking about ag tech or food and ag in any way, take advantage of this. And this is a program that we're hoping to offer in other industries throughout the academic year. I'm just going to highlight very quickly 2 internship funds for any first-year MBAs. These are funding opportunities for either underpaid or unpaid opportunities in sustainability. The first one here, the internship fund, is something that I work at the CDO to source internship opportunities. What we do is we talk to companies, we figure out what their sustainability internship recruitment needs are, and we post them all when you return to campus for the spring. We offer the funding for half of your internship, but we can only offer funding for the first 5 students who accept an offer through this program. We're going to have a whole other session about this when it's launched, when you return to campus in February. The other funding opportunity for students is called the Sloan Social Impact Fund. The difference between these two is how the opportunity is sourced. So students will find an opportunity, say with a nonprofit, government agency, startup, and they will apply for additional funding through this program. So we work collaboratively with several other departments to approve all of the applications and offer funding. Between these 2 programs, we supported a record number of 28 interns this past summer, which was amazing. And we're very excited to showcase just a couple of those fund recipients in just a moment. So beyond MIT, so I'm constantly sharing career resources with students via WhatsApp and my LinkedIn. Here is just a short list of job posting platforms in the climate and sustainability space. Here's just a short list of conferences that our students take advantage of. And here's just a very short list of additional resources that you should definitely take advantage of. Again, I will share all of this with you all once we wrap today. And again, if you're on WhatsApp, that's going to be the easiest channel to get these updates. So now we're going to pivot and we're going to hear directly from some students and hopefully one alum if he joins. But I want to thank you all for the opportunity to present. Before we pivot, does anybody have any questions about any information that Julie or I shared? Yes.
My name is Jules. I'm a first-year MBA candidate, and I was wondering, will you be willing to share the slides after this to those who registered, just so that I could make sure that I didn't miss any information?
Yes, happy to share the slides. And again, are you on that WhatsApp channel too?
I couldn't get myself to join the group. Every time I tried to open it, it just sort of just lagged on the app, and it.
Come flag me down and I'll open it on the QR code on my phone so that you can join.
Perfect.
And we'll get you in there. So I'll share the slide deck just with everybody in that community too. Awesome. And if you have questions that you think of a little bit later, Julie and I will linger after the presentation. So now I'm going to welcome Jasmine and David as our panelists, our second year MBA and dual degree students. So first, I would love to hear an introduction from both of you, name, program, and what led you to apply to business school.
Okay, cool. Hey everyone, I'm Jasmine. I'm a second year MBA, and I'm originally from Boston. I am really interested in just pursuing the sustainability certificate and all of the resources that come here at MIT. So very excited to hear about all of the opportunities. I was interested in coming to B school to just get more technical knowledge. So I come from a liberal arts background. I studied history. And I was in management consulting before, but realized that I quickly wanted to learn more about the fundamental business skills. So I was actually interested in learning accounting, and I knew I wanted to really deep dive into the sustainability aspect of things. So getting that technical knowledge and really being able to broaden my network and just understand the space a little bit more. Awesome, thank you.
We have a lot in common in our reasons for applying. Hey, everybody, you can hear me. I'm David Merkel. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, and I applied to business school because I actually applied while I was in my first year at HKS, doing a master in public policy. But before grad school, I had worked for a startup, and we'd gotten a lot bigger. But I kind of found that despite what the media or Hollywood would have you believe, there's really nothing fun or cool or sexy about trying to learn corporate finance on the fly. So I really resonate with what Jasmine said about getting fundamentals down. And yes, but then the reason that I got so into sustainability is actually because I did my first year internship after HKS at the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy. Thought they were going to put me on the national security team, but I serendipitously wound up on industrial innovation, which is all about climate finance, all about climate infrastructure. And I just have since then have completely leaned into that.
Awesome. Thanks, David. We also have a recent alum who is joining us virtually. Juan, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Awesome. We can see you. We can hear you. Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Juan, do you want to just do a quick intro? So name, what program did you just graduate from? What was your background and what led you to Sloan?
Yeah, absolutely. So Juan Guzman from Bronx, New York. I had been in the Navy for 8 years as a surface warfare officer, for those who are familiar with that. And what led me to Sloan was wanting to get out of the Navy and figure out what life looks like as a civilian, but also particularly Sloan because I was really interested in climate work and climate related work. And so realized that once I'd get to Sloan, I'd be able to figure it out. And I eventually did. And I'm now working at Galehead Development, which is a Boston-based renewable energy developer. And I'm on our enterprise sales team.
Amazing. Thank you, Juan. Maybe Jasmine, I'll tee you up to go first, but can you talk through your recruitment journey last year as a first year MBA? What were some resources that you took advantage of maybe early on or later in your first year in the MBA program?
Yeah, definitely. I talked a lot about wanting to build up that technical knowledge, but then when I started business school, I realized that took a different form than just going to classes and meeting professors. So I really took advantage of the programs out there. So I did the Mint Impact Investing Competition, which is great. We did diligence for a startup that was focused in the textile space, looking at agricultural waste for their inputs. So it was a great way to learn more about essentially it was similar to ag tech, but a little different because it was focused on textiles. But that was my first introduction to getting the knowledge in terms of the financial analyses and just understanding how the networks and the space look like. I also did DB Lab. So if anyone is on the E&I track, I did the discipline entrepreneurship lab for 3 weeks over IEP. So I worked with a startup. They were focused on regenerative agriculture in Kenya. So I learned a lot about biochar, and it was a great way for me to get hands-on experience working with a startup. So took advantage of all of those resources. And I think having that on my resume and being able to speak to it was really helpful in terms of recruiting. I had done some ESG work at Deloitte, but it wasn't in my area of knowledge by any means. So definitely take advantage of all the programming here. And my recruitment journey, I wasn't really prioritizing recruiting in the fall. I wanted to make sure I had the time and space for school. So I started doing coffee chats in November, applications in December, and interviews in January. So I was able to lock down my offer before the start of the spring semester. And I know that looks a little different from some of the other timelines.
And if I could interject, how did you find your opportunity at National Parks?
Yeah, it was really serendipitous. So there were some Sloanies that had done the internship last year. So I reached out to them for coffee chats, and the National Park Service, they actually they partner with a nonprofit organization that handles the recruitment. So I networked with them. They did some campus info sessions, and the application process itself was very similar to consulting. So I did case interviews, I did some behavioral interviews, and it ended up working out, and I got to live in a national park for the summer.
Really cool. David, how about yourself? What was your recruitment journey like, and what services or programs did you take advantage of last year?
Do the climate and energy hack. Just do it. It's, yeah, oh yeah. It is, I did it last year, and I worked with one close friend that I already knew and had met on my pre-function, and we teamed up with someone else who had 15 years of work experience. She was a Sloan fellow, and we worked with this other guy who was a PhD in comp sci at Harvard, who has since dropped out and is at OpenAI. He was 19 in his third year of PhD, something wild. And so you just meet all of these different people who are interested in this kind of work. We designed this solution for a autonomous greenhouse optimization software company, which is something I never thought I'd spend 48 hours just diving in on. But then, to your point, you talk about that in every single conversation and interview, and people are so interested because you actually achieved something, you helped someone. The guy that I worked with ended up working, was Andrew Kerber, ended up working with that company over the summer. And it's just, at the risk of repeating myself too much on the hack, there's so much upside. Like the probability, the expected value is in your favor. And to that math point, because we're at MIT, I've been reading, this is about my recruitment journey. I've been reading Nate Silver's book recently, which is admittedly like very self-indulgent, but he talks a lot about certain odds of, right, what's your expected value, what's the probability of something. And I would just say, I was doing some math here. If you talk to 10 people, each of whom you have a 15% chance of getting a job from, you have an 80% chance of getting at least one of those offers. And I think the mistake that I made in the fall, try to be quick here, sorry, is I was so timid and so over selective. And to what end? Like, have some tact. Don't just say, can I have a job now? But be assertive. You're confident, you're great, try it. And the more people you talk to, the odds are in your favor.
Awesome. Juan, can you walk us through your recruitment journey, your full-time search journey, and any projects or programs that you took advantage of while you were in B school?
Yeah, I'll double down on the hack. I did participated in my first year of the MBA, and then I ran it the second year when David participated. Can't speak highly enough about that. That like got me some exposure to doing climate related work, or at least put something on my resume. But I ended up interning in my summer between at Next Era. I know that we have a pretty sizable contingent. Sloan does at Next Era, and that was a great experience. And I actually developed some really great relationships there. So although I decided not to go back to Next Era because Florida didn't work out for me and my partner, I leveraged one of the relationships I had there to end up at the company I'm at now. And I actually took a risk and decided to take an internship with this company. I was able to eventually convert that into a full-time opportunity.
Amazing. And I know we're coming up on time, so I think rapid fire. What is one thing that you wish you had known before starting your recruitment journey in sustainability?
Networking doesn't necessarily have to be networking. It's just getting yourself involved in opportunities and learning and meeting new people on the way. So don't be intimidated by networking.
And I'll just add something that I forgot to in the last one that I think applies here. Like, how did we use MIT Sloan? My answer was about MIT. And I ended up working this summer for a company that was for a VC who he founded this VC and he went to MIT, but he did not go to business school, and then helping their portfolio company who was a physicist at MIT. There's so much here. And I think I wish I had known. I'm very happy with how the summer turned out. I just could have avoided a lot of stress and done it a lot sooner. To just lean in on everything that MIT has to offer and how much you have to offer very technical people. You underestimate it, but like the business degree is real skills, real value add, and they'd be happy to have you.
Awesome. And Juan, rapid fire, what is one thing you wish you had known?
I think keep an open mind and identify where your superpower is. It doesn't have to be something unique. For me, it was really good at execution, and then leverage that and communicated that value to everyone I knew.
Amazing. We're 1 minute over our time here, but to put you on the spot, Juan, Jasmine, David, are you open to students reaching out if they have specific questions about your career journey?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on
Excellent.
LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Well, thank you three so much for your expertise. I highly recommend all of you to connect with them. This is what we mean by community. If you have any questions, I will linger for a few minutes. But again, get in contact with us, with the CDO, and we look forward to working with you on your job search. Thank you so much.